Over 800,000 borrowers will receive a $39 billion student debt forgiveness from the Biden administration. The announcement comes weeks after the Supreme Court canceled Biden's Student Leaders Health Care Plan. President Joe Biden continues his efforts to solve America's student loan debt and just scored a big win. On Friday, the Biden administration announced plans to forgive $39 billion in student debt for 804,000 borrowers. The program comes from a fix for income-based repayment student loan borrowers, CNBC reported. Under these schemes, after debtors have repaid 20 or 25 years, the government will write off any remaining debt. The length of study depends on the loan, the type of loan, and the program. Past payments are not included, which, according to Biden's management, should bring borrowers closer to zero debt. U.S. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona said in a statement. The new program will calculate payments to borrowers whose money is suspended during delay and default. Partial or late payers will be recognized. The news comes a few weeks after it aired in the U.S. The U.S. Supreme Court approved Biden's first student loan program to help pardon 37 million borrowers. The Ministry of National Education will notify those who qualify under this new program in the coming days. Update released 2 weeks after U.S. release. The Supreme Court overturned Biden's plan to pay off student debts to finance his college educations. The Justice Committee of the U.S. Supreme Court voted unanimously and rejected the Democrats' appeal. Decisions: Biden v. Nebraska and the Department of Education v. Brown's problems came nearly a year after Biden announced his plans to cancel nearly $10,000 in federal student loans. Biden said his administration will also eliminate up to $10,000 in additional payments to Pell Grant recipients. To qualify for debt relief, borrowers must earn less than $125,000 per year, and married couples applying jointly must earn less than $250,000 per year. But before the plan could be implemented, the federal court ordered a temporary suspension in response to a Republican motion that claimed the story was illegal. The case then went all the way to the Supreme Court, where it was decided on June 30th. This summer, millions of Americans with children's student loans will be able to apply for new repayment plans with some of the loosest terms ever. As long as the borrower is regular, no interest is earned. Millions of people will get $0. From 2024, student loan debt will be cut in half. The program, known as the SAVE program, was announced last year but was interrupted by President Joe Biden's demand that student loans be removed immediately. Repayment options came to the fore after the Supreme Court rejected Biden's impeachment plan, which some observers said affected the campaign. The Biden administration has said that payments in the past that should have brought debtors closer to zero debt were not taken into account. U.S. Secretary of Education Miguel Cardona said in a statement, "Borrowers have been trapped for too long by a corrupt system that does not follow up properly to forgive their debts." To cross the line of forgiveness for people, the Biden administration has included repayments for borrowers who are overdue under certain deferments and amnesty, and for borrowers who pay partial or late payments. Persis Yu, vice president of the Center for Student Loan Protection, said that while the forgiveness is a big win for borrowers, it is the relief they deserve. Without a doubt, due to 804,000 malfunctions, more than 804,000 people were served by this operation, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, you said in a statement. Bad school credit means disaster for the workforce. A few weeks ago, the Supreme Court ruled on President Joe Biden's plan to waive the amnesty for students, which would result in up to $37 million in aid. ED will notify eligible borrowers in the coming days. The U.S. Department of Education announced Friday that it will begin notifying more than 804,000 borrowers, with a total of $39 billion in federal student loans to be foreclosed over the weekend. Borrowers are stuck in the cracks of a corrupt system that has not tracked their progress towards forgiveness for too long, U.S. Education Minister Miguel Cardona said in a statement. Today, the Biden-Harris administration took an important step to get this wrong, announcing $39 billion in debt relief for 804,000 borrowers. Cardona, by addressing past mistakes, we ensure that everyone receives the forgiveness they deserve, just as we do for the permanent disabled, including public officials, university-defrauded students, and veterans. This administration will not stop fighting for equal conditions in higher education. This next program is the result of the Biden-Harris administration's development to ensure that all borrowers receive the number of monthly payments eligible for coverage under the Income Repayment (IDR) plan. These adjustments are part of the Department of Labor's efforts to address the historically poor management of federal student loans that do not include qualified loans. The IDR program has been implemented, which should bring borrowers closer to forgiving, he added. Borrowers are eligible for forgiveness if they have written 20 or 25-year equivalent months on their loans. President Kamala Harris said she and the president are changing the repayment schedule and loan type every 2 months for the next year, and that the repayment rates will be updated for all borrowers who have not yet been forgiven. Whether they want to start a family, buy a house, or become an entrepreneur, they are ahead in life. We will not give up, he added. Last month, President Biden announced that we are seeking other ways to provide assistance through the Higher Education Act, and have completed reimbursed funding. Our new government will continue the fight to ensure Americans have access to a quality education. University education without the burden of unaffordable student loans. The announcement came after the Supreme Court ruled that the Biden administration could not extend the Student Loan Repayment Act after 2 weeks. The court, by a vote of 6-3, ruled that federal law does not allow the Secretary of Education to cancel more than $430 billion in student loans. The Secretary's plan eliminates approximately $430 billion in federal student loans, completely eliminates the debt of 20 million borrowers, and reduces the average debt owed by the other 23 million loans from $29,400 to $13,600, Chief Justice John Roberts wrote for the majority. I will spare no effort to find another way to help hardworking, middle-class families, Biden said after the decision. The government offers debt relief of up to $10,000 for those earning less than $125,000 a year, and up to $20,000 for Pell Grant recipients. The plan will cost the government more than $400 billion.